I'm Sherry Tunney for the Marine Canvas Training Institute. Today we will demonstrate the making of a bimini top with enclosure. We'll show you how to lay out the patterns to avoid waste and how to cut and sew them together quickly. Our goal, as always, is to demonstrate how to increase your profits through the efficient use of materials and labor, while at the same time turning out top-quality marine products. Let's meet Don Wedge, President of the Marine Canvas Training Institute. Hi, Don.
Hi, Sherry.
Don, even though your students may master the skills that have made you a leader in the canvas fabrication industry, just how important is the material that they use?
Well, Sherry, the material that we use makes the difference whether we can turn out a quality product that we demand from our shop and that our customers have come to expect.
So where do you go to get this top quality material?
Well, Sherry, we use mainly Unitex, who's a national supplier of Sunbrella and Gore-Tex thread. The reason we use Unitex is because they have good service and are competitively priced.
Now, what about Sunbrella?
We use Sunbrella because Sunbrella is the material that's guaranteed for 5 years. It has a full color line that matches our customers' needs, and we also use Gore-Tex thread, which is guaranteed for the life of the product.
So it's safe to say that by utilizing Sunbrella material, Gore-Tex sewing thread, and the services of Unitex, you're pretty much guaranteed a top quality product.
That's right, Sherry. Now we can go back to work.
Okay.
This segment of our tape has to do with working the pattern for a bimini top with a full enclosure. You saw us pattern it earlier on another segment, and now we're going to get busy and work the pattern, getting it ready to put on the material to cut out for the project. We have the forward half of the bimini top laying up here, and what the girls are going to do, and it's just so that you understand the dot system of patterning. If you look over here, we have a pair of dots, and if you look over on this corner, we have a pair of dots, as we do on the other 4 corners. Now the rule is that on all patterns, when you lay it down and you want to work the pattern, you're going to be connecting the outermost set of dots on each pattern, not the inner set. But you need both dots on each pattern. And please, when you connect these dots with a straight edge, don't run the line into the dot. Stop short of the dot. So Becky, you want to go ahead there? Dawn, why don't you hold that edge for her? Remember, stop these lines short of the dots because we want to maintain the integrity of the dots so that we can put this whole project together like a puzzle. Now, while they're getting these connected, you have to know what each part of this project is and how it's going to be used, as in this line over here, which represents the seam that was drawn on the frame, requires a 1/2 inch seam allowance, and we cut that on our pattern. By the same token, this line on the other side requires a 1/2 inch seam allowance, so we're going to cut that on the pattern. The side lines are the finish edge of the top, so we cut right down the line. Go ahead, Beck. Now, when you cut the 1/2 inch seam allowance, these girls have been doing it so long that they'll cut right alongside the line a 1/2 inch away. If you can't maintain a 1/2 inch seam allowance, mark it and cut it. The 1/2 inch seam allowance is real critical because when we pattern, cut, and sew with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, if you start varying 1/8 of an inch either way, you're either going to make your product bigger or smaller, and it's not going to fit the area that you wanted to cover. That's all there is to cutting out the forward half of the bimini top. But you will notice that the dots are intact, and when we cut right alongside of them so that we can always find them, because this has to go together like a puzzle. Now maybe Dawn's going to get lucky and bring over the other half of the bimini top so we can keep some continuity here, and she's good, so we're going to do that. This is the other half of the bimini top. It still has two lines which represent the seam lines. Still got a pair of dots on each corner. We're going to connect the outer dots on each pattern. So girls, go ahead and connect them. While the girls are doing this, some of you that are brand new to this system of patterning, if you'll notice over here on this corner, there's an arrow near the dot. That arrow was put there just so that if you are nervous about losing a dot, you'll know that there should be something there, as opposed to making a great big dot, which gives you too big of a mark. Same rules apply on this. You have to know how this is going to be connected to the next part of the top. So on this one, we're going to be having a flap here, and it's going to be sewed to another part of the top over here. The sides over here are going to be finish edges. So the girls are leaving a 1/2 inch seam allowance on each side here and cutting on the finish line on the sides. And that's all there is to cutting out the 2/2 of a 3-bow bimini top. Now I just want to make one statement. You've watched us all doing this patterning using Sharpies as a marker. The reason we use a Sharpie, they have a very fine point on it, and it's a permanent mark. We use it for all of our patterning. So my advice to you is, if you start using this system, don't use a magic marker, use a Sharpie. And the minute it starts to get dull, throw it away and go buy a new one, because they don't cost that much. And I'm a fanatic about having a fine line for where the seam is going to be, because if you have a wide line that's 1/4 inch wide can be interpreted 1/4 inch, and it can be wrong.
Put it up here.
Now we're going to work one of our curtains. Now in this project today, we're not going to work all 4 curtains because of the time and because it becomes very repetitious, but we are going to do one side curtain and one forward curtain so that you can see the relationship of the dots to each other on the pattern, and how they help you establish your zipper lengths, and how they help you find out whether you made a good pattern or a bad pattern. How you doing, girls? You lost? No, you're not lost. What we have here is the forward curtain. We have the mark that was on the top of the frame up here. We have a line of holes down here that were part of the snaps that were on the boat. We've got a dot down here on this corner, which is the corner between a curtain and another curtain. And we have a dot over on this corner. And we have a pair of dots up here at the top on each side. Same rules apply. We're going to connect the outer dots on the pattern.
Should have the side curtain first, though.
Well, we'll do this and we'll take it off. That way everybody will see
They'll
it.
see it. Okay.
What they're worrying about is we have a dot coming up. We call it a mystery dot. It's not even here. It's a mystery where the heck it came from. But when we get to doing a side curtain, we'll show you what a mystery dot is.
You can see down here, this is the dot that was patterned on the frame at the lower end, which would be on the boat. Now what I did when I patterned this is I put an arrow here, which helped me remember that I needed to go from this dot to the top pattern, so that you're not trying to search for something, a dot out somewhere.
You want to connect that one, Don? All right, now on all of your curtains, you don't have to worry about seam allowances because they're finished. The only thing that you do have to worry about, and if you read the pattern, which is what I keep trying to impress on you, read the instructions on the pattern, you'll notice that this line up here was drawn on the frame, which represents the seam on the top. This curtain will never get to that frame. It will stop 1 inch short of the frame underneath the flap where the zipper is. And we have a note here. It says -1 inch. So when we cut this, we're going to cut it 1 inch short. When she cuts across the bottom here, she's going to mark it first. And here's a very good example. She's trying to put a straight edge on a line that's not a straight line. So don't try to make it do something it won't do, because the boat's not straight. So what we do is put a series of marks 3/4 of an inch outside of the center line of the snaps. And that's what we cut the finish edge to for the bottom of the curtain. See, all of you assumed that this was a straight line, and it's not when you lay the straight edge on it and connect the marks. Do what it says. The worst thing you can do with this system of patterning, or any system of patterning, is to come back to the shop and start second guessing what you did out at the boat. If you want to do that, do it at the boat, because that's where you can make the corrections. You can't do it here. So now we can go ahead and cut it out, and we're going to be cutting the top edge 1 inch minus. Go ahead, Don. We'll get that later. And up here again, when you cut this off on the top where the mark is, you're going to cut it 1 inch short, Don. If you can't judge 1 inch by eye, mark it. And so that we can show you the relationship of the dots to the dots. Normally we would just cut this off right on a cross, but I'm going to ask Dawn to leave these dots on, come down to this line and cut across so that we'll have this little triangle so I can show you the relationship of the dots to the dots on the other parts of the pattern. Before you go too far, Dawn, she caught herself, and you'll catch yourself. Remember what a fanatic I am about the center line? She was about to cut it off, and she transferred it down onto the finished product. And that is all we can do to the forward curtain pattern for the moment. Now we're going to do the side curtain pattern, and this is where the mystery dot's going to come in. Now I may have to go back later in the tape and show you the relationship of the mystery dot on the finished product, but I want to tell you why we do this. First, let me get the girls going here. What we're going to do here is connect the outer dots to the outer dots again, except that on the top of the curtain, and we're up here on the top where Becky and I are, we have to connect the upper dots together. On each end of the curtain, we're going to find the mystery dot, and the mystery dot is going to be 1 inch outside of the top dot on each end of this curtain. So she's going to lay the ruler up here with 1 inch hanging over and put the mystery dot right on the corner of the ruler. Now in doing that, she's going to come down and do the same thing on this other end. Remember, it's 1 inch. And remember, we're connecting the outer dots on this side curtain so that the top will overlap the side curtain by 1/2 inch, which will keep all the water out of the boat. Now we can connect the mystery dot to the lower dot on the corner of the curtain. And I hope you all notice that the girls have been yelled at so much that when they draw these lines, they stop short of the dots, because the dots are very important in laying all of these patterns up so that we can check the quality of our work and the quality of our pattern. And if we've made a mistake, we can solve it. Now Dawn is going to put the marks 3/4 of an inch outside of the snap line along the bottom so that we know where to trim the bottom. And again, all of the lines on the side curtain are cut lines. They're the finish edges of the curtain. I hope you all notice that this is a 3-bow bimini top, which requires 2 halves for the top and 4 curtains to go around it. It's a relatively small job. But by the same token, making the patterns and working the patterns when you stay steady at it hasn't taken us over about 45 minutes. And we'll be ready to lay it on a cutting table, ready to cut out the product. You notice that the girls keep going around the excess marks on this pattern. What she just went around on that one corner is the snap that's on the next curtain. The reason she left that there was so that if we've got a problem, we can lay the next curtain up there and see where the problem is and figure out a way to solve it. This system of patterning, which we call the dot system, will save you a lot of travel back and forth of the boat, because you can solve the problems that or the mistakes that you made, you can correct when you get back to the cutting table. All right, now this gives us all of the patterns worked. Now here's where the puzzle comes in, okay? And we don't have enough room on the table to show everything in a whole pile, but if you'll remember right, we added 1 inch to the dots on the side curtain. We have the same pair of dots over here on the forward curtain, which came off of the same frame from the same place. So if we've done everything right, we should be able to lay this pair of dots on this pair of dots, and Dawn can put those 2 dots together, and that tells us how much to cut the front curtain short so that it will still meet the side curtain. So now Becky has got a place to establish the mystery dot on the forward curtain. So now that she's established the mystery dot on the forward curtain, she can connect that dot to the bottom and cut this excess off so that these 2 curtains will meet right at the corner. I hope you understand what we've done. What we've added on to the side curtain at the front corner, we're taking off of the front curtain at that same corner so that these 2 will butt. And I'm just about to prove that, because Dawn's going to slide these down her way just a little bit, and Becky's going to bring the top up here, and we're going to show you how this puzzle all goes together. If you got a mental picture of what that frame looked like in front of the camera before, this is upside down because I can't read pout and sout. This is forward. That's forward. We want to show them the side curtain. We want to get this one out of the way for the moment, okay?
Oops.
And this is sout.
Gotta flip it around. This is sout, that's pout. They all gotta say pout.
Okay, we'll get it together here in a minute, folks. Just hold up. Okay, now we got all the pouts together. Everybody with me? Now, notice that she's putting those 2 dots on top of those 2, these 2 dots on top of these 2, and I'm putting these same 2 dots on top of those 4, and these 2 dots on top of those. And folks, if you can make a pattern where those little tiny dots that are 1/16 of an inch wide will pile up that well, you've got a good pattern and you have nothing to worry about. That's going to guarantee you that this top will fit that frame and that curtain will fit this top. Now, one point. Here's the mystery dot here. Here's the mystery dot on this corner. The reason for that is the side curtain has to come back under the flap on the side of the top and meet the forward or the aft curtain under the corner of the flap. And when we get our setup or our top set up here later, I'll show you the relationship again. But now we've established the mystery dot, we've established the fact that these patterns are correct. Now is when it comes when you can set the length of your zippers. Now we start all of our zippers at the aft end of the boat and finish them at the front. And I'll get into what's the start and the stop of a zipper later, but for now we're just going to set it on the pattern. And because of not wanting to get involved with the pockets that are holding the top to the frame, we start our zipper 4 inches forward of the lower dot on the top there. And if you'll notice what she's doing, she's drawing the pencil mark right across both pieces of material at the same time. So that's the exact junction or the start of the zipper. Now she's going to come up here and draw the same mark 4 inches aft of this lower dot, which will represent the zipper stop. Now the reason this is done this way is most companies will make a top, put it on the boat, pull it real tight, stretch the zipper, and then go pattern a curtain that won't fit because the top has X number of teeth and the curtain has a different number of teeth, and you can't do that on zippers. It'll throw a big old hairy wrinkle right down through the side curtain. This way, both zippers are the same exact length. Now, how do we establish the length of the zipper? You can't do it on the top because the top isn't sewed together yet and it's in 2 parts. So if you want to be very exact, slide it out of the way, and there's your curtain, which is 1 solid piece of material. Lay your ruler down here, everything is relaxed. Whatever the figure is, write it down. From start to stop is 45 1/4 inches. So we will cut a 48-inch zipper that's exactly 45 1/4. And both halves will be 45 1/4. That way we won't have to worry about any wrinkles. That's how you establish your zipper starts and stops. And folks, this goes all the way around this job this way. So when you get all done, you have every part of this whole job patterned so that when you cut every part, you lay it by the sewing machine, you go sit down and sew. And that's how I got to be so lazy. I don't jump up and run around looking for zippers. Cut them, sew them on, and go. And that pretty well covers...
We gotta do the up and down zipper.
Oh my gosh.
The vertical zipper.
Thank gosh Becky is here today, because Dad is goofed up. Here's how you establish your vertical zippers that connect curtain to curtain. Again, pile your dots up. The 2 dots from the frame pile up, the mystery dot piles up, the lower dots pile up, and we have a rule, and it's not cast in concrete, but normally to make it easy for the customer to use the zipper, we put the zipper start 2 inches down from the mystery dot, and we draw the line across the junction of both pieces at once. That becomes the zipper start, and we stop 2 inches. I'm sorry, I blew it. 1 inch. Beck, you should have yelled at me. It's 1 inch down from the top, folks, and 2 inches from the bottom. Why do we stop at 2 inches from the bottom? Because if you run it all the way to the bottom and the curtain goes down past the combing has a tendency to hold the zipper open because the handle of the zipper is in the way. This also gives you a place. What? See my scratch out there? Man, I'm really screwed up today. But anyhow, this zipper is 1 inch down from the mystery dot. So now we measure from this start to that stop, and we have the length of the vertical zipper. and this is a 42.5-inch zipper. Now if you continue on around this top like this, we're not going to do it, but if you continue on around it, you've got every part necessary to cut out, which we'll be cutting out later. And that's how you go about working the pattern for a bimini top with a full enclosure for a fly bridge or any other place that you want to put it.
We'd like to take this opportunity to thank our sponsors, the people from Glen Raven Mills Incorporated, who manufacture Sunbrella, Unitex Incorporated, a nationwide distributor, and W.L. Gore & Associates, using creative technologies worldwide in the making of Gore-Tex sewing thread. Join us again when we show you how to increase your profits and save time and effort with the Marine Canvas Training Institute programs.
Sherry, you know you've done a fantastic job, but you know what?
What?
I'm sick of working. Let's go fishing.
Okay, Don, let's fish.